These vests serve to protect and identify journalists. Yet they've offered little protection for Palestinian journalists who risk their lives to report on Israel's relentless bombing of Gaza.
Back into Gaza. Do you know anything about
On the first day of the war, October 7th, this happened. Al Jazeera reporter Yumna Al-Sayed reported live in Gaza City as the building behind her, which housed several media institutions, was bombed. It was a sign of things to come.
Yumna, take a moment to breathe. We have just witnessed live what an Israeli air raid looks like on a populated area of Gaza City.
While international media has only been allowed in with the Israeli army under heavy censorship, journalists in Gaza have been pivotal in documenting and exposing possible Israeli war crimes. Among them is Al Jazeera's former Gaza bureau chief Wael Dahdouh, who continued in his pursuit to report on the war, even after his wife, teenage son, 7-year-old daughter and his grandson were killed in an airstrike. In mid-December, he and Al Jazeera cameraman Samer Abu Dahdouh were caught in a strike while filming at his school. While Abu Dahdouh was wounded and still under heavy fire, a network of rights groups pressured Israel to let them rescue him. Arriving 6.5 hours later, Abu Dahdouh had bled to death. Less than a month later, Dahdouh's son Hamza travelled to document the aftermath of an Israeli attack, but never returned. A direct strike on his vehicle killed him and his colleague Mustafa Tourayev. For much of the war, Al Jazeera correspondent Ismail Al-Ghul was reporting from northern Gaza. He and his cameraman Rami Al-Rafi were directly targeted in an Israeli strike on his car. In October 2024, Al Jazeera cameraman Fadi Al-Wahidi was shot in the neck by Israeli forces while covering an intensifying ground invasion in northern Gaza. Israel has blocked his evacuation for medical treatment, leaving him in pain and paralysed. And in December, journalist Iman Al-Shanti was killed in an airstrike on her home. Her husband and their 3 children died alongside her. Last year, this reporter tore off his press vest after learning of his colleague's death, saying it offered no protection.
But
when the ceasefire was announced on Wednesday, this was Al Jazeera journalist Anas Al-Sharif's reaction. For him, removing his press vest is a symbol and hope for an end to Israel's war on Gaza. Laura Khan, Al Jazeera.
And joining us now in the studio is Wael Dahdouh, Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief. Good to have you with us on the programme. Before I talk to you about the ceasefire, can I just ask you what goes through your mind when you just watched Laura's report about your colleagues in Gaza that have been killed, injured, and you yourself has received that personal loss too?
A lot of things go in my mind right now and in my heart, for sure. And by the way, they are very contradicting, if I could say, very mixed as never happened before, because end of the day, I represent a Palestinian journalist and I represent a Palestinian citizen as well. It's not easy for me. I covered all the wars and all the incidents in Gaza Strip to overlook this part of the world from far away, and he is not there with his colleagues. We have lost some of our colleagues, and I cannot be amongst them. Probably we have about to lose our lives. We have been together facing the hunger and facing the threats and the dangers. It's not easy right now. I'm here in your studio and looking at the situation over there. It's painful for me. This is for sure. I feel that I'm not able to be with them. And probably after everything, probably I cannot even dare to have a look on the cemetery where I have buried my wife, my son, my daughter, my nephew, my grandchildren, then Hamza, my son. I don't know. The parts of their bodies are still there in the cemetery, or they have been bulldozed by the Israeli bulldozers. Until the moment, I can't say, I can't know anything about those beloved ones. Are they in the cemetery or they have been taken away? That's why the emotions are contradicting, and it's a very difficult situation. Emotions are very mixed, and in all cases, this is a very important moment, very exceptional moment after 15 months and even more of death, destruction, fear, horror, losses, and all the painful meanings and all the shocking meanings. Now we are facing hours of calmness. No buzzing drones are everywhere in the skies, no artillery, no destruction. All these things have stopped for hours. And this is in itself a sort of a new hope that the ceasefire agreement will continue and we can build on that matter. And people who have lost their loved ones like myself, mothers and wives, can go back again to life.
Just letting our translator translate the end of your conversation there, sir, because you talk about the pain that you've suffered both professionally and personally so eloquently, and yet we now see a ceasefire in operation. What have people in Gaza that you've been able to speak to in the hours or days leading up to this ceasefire been saying to you about what they want and what their hopes are for what might be a potential future for them, and a peaceful one?
I have lived for more than 50 years in Gaza Strip. I know the people, I know the colleagues, and I have covered so many wars and brutality in Gaza Strip. And every single time, the people ended up to be more stronger and more able and more capable and more talented in creating life and bringing back life between all the pains. And this time, particularly, the situation is different because it has never been like this before. All the wars were not like this particular war, in the horror, in the destruction, in the numbers of the martyrs, in everything. But I have heard that tone that says, no way, other than facing all the details of life, despite the pain, despite the brutality, we need to face life. Now, some people have reached the rubble of their houses and their buildings. A lot of people don't even know where exactly their houses were, because we need satellite just to determine the borders between houses. And they want a tent to set it up on the rubble of their houses in order to stay, in order to live this real life now. Everyone now is trying to get to know where the houses are. Some of them have their beloved ones under the rubble. They need, or the society need, equipment, heavy equipment, in order to recover the bodies under the rubble. And this also might be an indication about the needs of the people. We need to open the crossings. We need to allow aid to get in. Food, medicines, medical supplies, and equipment. The civil defense teams want heavy units and tools. During the war, all these equipment have been destroyed. And now we need real equipment, heavy equipment. According to estimates, international estimates, this needs years to get rid of all the rubble in Gaza Strip. So more than 70% of the people of Gaza Strip are homeless. They are in the open. And we need everyone to abide by this agreement, by all the details of this agreement, particularly providing the people with their needs. Otherwise, this will have a negative aspect on the lives of the people. If these things are provided, people in Gaza have the will, have the power, have the determination, and people of Gaza have now the experience of how to get up again on their feet and to be right on the ground. They have the will, they have determination, but they need the other parties to take care of them, to help them, to support them, to stay side by side with them, to provide them with the needs in order to get the minimum part of normal life despite horror and brutality everywhere in the Strip. These are the first moments of the ceasefire agreement. There are more items that must be applied during the first stage, the first 16 days, 22 days after that, 42 days, in order to be able to say that this ceasefire agreement will be successful and we can build upon it and to start new second and third phases in order to reach the lasting, permanent ceasefire in Gaza Strip. Opening the way for the reconstruction in Gaza is very important, and the war has turned the Strip into a place of destruction. We need to see this moment, we need to live this moment, and as journalists, as sons of Gaza, as victims, as living martyrs, we need to continue life, and we need to get to overcome our problems and our pains and to receive life again.
It's been good to get your opinion and also your life experience about what's been happening this last 15 months. Wael Dahdouh, Al Jazeera's Gaza Bureau Chief, thank you so much for joining us.
Shukran.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.